Commander Beat, it seems you're outmatched. League of War VR Arena review for the PlayStation VR.
Let's begin!
First up, let's take a look at the gameplay. This is a one-on-one tabletop strategy game. The aim is to destroy your opponent's base before they destroy yours. You do this by placing units onto the table. When you place them, they come to life and race off into the battlefield. Certain units are more powerful than others, so you need to be constantly aware of what units your opponent is placing. For example, infantry are powerful against choppers, but are weak against artillery and tanks. If you're not careful, the person in the lead can change quite quickly, depending on the units on the battlefield. You can only place units when a timer has been reached that is found around them. You can only speed one unit up at a time, and it stops the other timers around your other unit. So you really need to make sure the next unit you're preparing for battle is going to do the most damage on the battlefield. To add another strategic element, you can order a unit to attack a certain enemy unit. You do this by aiming them at the desired unit before placing them down. This allows you to be quite sneaky, as you can order a recon unit to quickly bypass the battle and travel to the enemy's base to start chipping away at their main health. There isn't a proper tutorial in the game, and it is a bit annoying having to learn what each unit's strengths and weaknesses are. The game does give you a basic idea though, and it shouldn't take you too long to get a good understanding of each one. The game comes with a couple of modes. The first is the campaign, and is really the main bulk of the game. Here you will fight against computer controlled opponents. They get more difficult over time, and the final battle with each one is quite hard. You'll need a good amount of knowledge of the game's units to beat them. Each time you beat one of their stages, you are rewarded with a new vehicle to deploy. You always feel a sense of progression in the game, and it's great seeing the new model designs come to life in front of you. You are also rewarded with tokens for winning battles. These can be spent on creating custom squads with units you have won from the main campaign. You can use these squads in the arcade mode. In the arcade mode, you can battle against AI or against a friend. When playing against a friend, one person plays with the headset and the other person plays with a DualShock controller on the TV. This could have been amazing, but there is one major problem with it. The non-VR player cannot direct their units to attack the VR player's units. The game automatically decides who they attack first. Taking this control away from the non-VR player makes the game quite tedious for them, as their only strategic option is what type of unit to deploy next. Sadly, if you're not playing in VR, you won't have much fun at all. Unfortunately, there is no online mode in this game. Now let's take a look at how immersive this game is. Everything looks and feels amazing, the depth is great, and it really does feel like you're peering down a table at your opponent. There is a few environments the battles take place on, such as the desert landscape and snow-filled lands. It does seem a bit surreal seeing different environments below you on a table. Grabbing your units is very fluid, and it does feel like you are playing with small toys that come to life as soon as you let go of them. It does feel so unreal to let go of a helicopter and see it instantly take flight towards the battlefield. It really did make me feel like a kid again. Grabbing and holding units to make them deploy quicker feels great, as a slight rumble comes from the move controllers. It does feel like you're giving extra energy to them, and adds to the feeling that you are in your very own command center. The explosions are quite impressive, and it really is quite a sight to see all the havoc that is going on right in front of you. Although the scenario did remind me of playing with toys, the sound effects that emit from the battles is realistic, and they really do pack a punch. There is a storyline, which is told before starting each campaign battle, in the form of voiceovers. They are quite well voiced. I do think most players will overlook the story though, as the start button is always available to push right in front of you, and pressing it does skip the voiceovers.
Today, I have taken on a contract defending a small nation with abundant resources.
Now let's take a look at the setup and what controllers the game supports. I played this game in a seated position just under 2 meters away from the camera. The head tracking was spot on, and the game did not give me motion sickness. This game is played with 2 move controllers. The DualShock controller and 1 move controller is not supported. When you play with a friend, the friend uses the DualShock controller to play. Now let's take a look at the length of the game and what trophies come with it. The main campaign will most likely last between 3 to 4 hours, but this can still change depending on how quickly you learn everything without a tutorial. The trophies are reasonably well done for this type of game, but do only focus mainly on the campaign. In total there are 13 trophies that can be achieved. There is 11 bronze, 1 silver, and 1 gold. Most of the trophies will be rewarded when you beat each of the campaign's opponents. Some can be achieved in the arcade mode too, but these can also be unlocked whilst playing the campaign. It would have been nice to see some trophies that were linked to the custom squads. It would have definitely given the game some more replayability. And now it's time for the verdict. You really do feel like a kid in this game who is playing with mini toys. It really did bring back memories for me. The battles can become quite intense when you have under a minute left to go and you are only just starting to bring the battle back in your favour. The lack of a tutorial though can make some of the opponent's battles quite frustrating, especially as the difficulty increases quite a bit near each one's final battle. The local multiplayer side of the game is a letdown, and although it is a nice inclusion, I just don't see many people sticking with it. Taking strategic gameplay options away from the non-VR player was a major mistake. It leaves the non-VR player in a very tedious and repetitive position. The game's lack of online play is quite confusing to me. It really could have been a competitive game that a lot of players would have come back to, especially if you could take your created squads to battle players from all around the world online. It would have made this game really shine and would have given it so much more replayability. That being said, what you do get here is a solid game overall that is presented extremely well. It is very simple to pick up and play, and you will get a few hours of exciting and intense matches from playing through the campaign mode. There is quite a bit of content here, especially with all the unlockable units. It's just a shame that there isn't much incentive to use them in the other modes. This is yet another PSVR game to get the fundamentals of a beloved game genre right in VR, and has certainly paved the way for similar strategy games in the future. I give League of War VR Arena a score of 7 out of 10. Commander Beep, it seems you are outmatched. Stop chucking helicopters at me! That's not how the game works! And stop chucking tanks! This really is a great addition to the RTS PSVR library. I just wish an online mode had made it into the final game. If you enjoyed this review and found it helpful, please give me and Beep a thumbs up, and also subscribe for more PlayStation VR content.